Oh, what's going on, GameLeaper? It's the Jizz, and in today's video, we are going to be revealing the 15 champions whose win rates have changed the most. So in other words, these champs either really like patch 11.24 or despised patch 11.24. So making up the 15, we have 11 winners and 4 losers. And commiserations if you play any of the champions who are winning less games this patch. But because I'm built different, I'm going to give each and every one of you the best rune page, the 3 core items, and the summoner spells you should run for each champion. So even if you're playing one of these losers, you will still have the best chance to win. Now, if you want more videos updating you on the preseason and what is happening each patch, make sure to leave a like down below, and let's start by talking about the losers of 11.24. So the first one we have to talk about is Victor. Now, why has Victor fallen from grace? Well, this is simply because pretty much every single item he built got nerfed. So if we think of Crown of the Shattered Queen, this is losing 10 AP, and also Cosmic Drive, which is losing AP, HP, and also the Phase Rush passive, which is giving you less movement speed. And because of these nerfs to Cosmic Drive, which is still costing 3,000 gold, which is a bit too steep for the actual value it gives, we're going to be going Shadow Flame instead after our Crown, and then follow this up with Azonia's Hourglass. This at the moment is the best setup for Victor, and then pairing this with Aerie as your keystone. So I know lots of Victors are going First Strike, but you do miss out on a couple of key runes in the sorcery tree, and it's just a better 1v1 trading tree than inspiration. So this is going to give you more power during the lane, so you can get to that mid to late game spike and unleash the upgrades. Now, even though Victor's win rate has dropped around 1%, his win rate is still around 52% overall, which is super good, and he's for sure one of the strongest mid laners and even champions in the game, so there's no reason to stop playing him. Now, the next loser of 11.24, this is another mid laner, and this is Corki, whose win rate, just like Victor, has gone down around 1%. Now, even though there were no real nerfs to Corki, it's just the fact that lots of other champions in the mid lane are strong, and with the Conqueror buff, it has made champions like Yone, Yasuo, Akali, Sylas scary to play against, who do really well into the Corkster. But there is a little bit of hope here, because I'm going to give you one of the wackiest but coolest builds going around the Rift at the moment. So this starts with getting your Mana Mune first, and then building Luden's Tempest, and then Ravenous Hydra. And it sounds pretty crazy going Luden's instead of Shield Bow, but the reason for doing this is to capitalize on the magic damage in your kit, and also to give you more magic penetration with Sorcerer's Shoes too. Now, Ravenous Hydra is so nice because it procs off your abilities, and because all of your abilities have some sort of area of effect damage, this can be super effective in teamfights. And as far as your runes go, we want to be going First Strike, because getting any sort of gold you can on Corki, the first few levels are going to be hard against anyone, so any bit of extra income you get is just a big bonus. This is going to allow you to get to these item spikes a lot sooner and deal a ton of damage. But one champion who is a heck of a lot worse than Corki, especially in solo queue, this is Azir. And unfortunately, the Emperor Shurima, his win rate has gone down over 2%, and this is despite lethal tempo getting buffed. Lots of people thought this keystone was going to be nuts on Azir, but here's the thing, it's not. It takes way too long to stack the attack speed to the point where you can actually notice it, and this is why I'm recommending to you guys this page, which at the moment in high reloads has a 55% win rate. So maybe there is a bit of hope for you Azir mains out there. Probably not, but yeah, still, this could be the saving grace. And the last of the 4 champions whose win rates have declined in 11.24, this is Kled. And for Kled, just like Azir, your win rate has gone down over 2%, and that's all because Skarl's HP is counting as base HP. This now means that with Titanic Hydra, the passive that gives you AD based off your bonus HP, this really is just not worth going anymore. Even though they buffed your E, the cooldown, and the AD ratio, it's still nowhere near enough to compensate for that base HP nerf. But to be honest, this does open up avenues for Kled to get buffed in the future and to go a more AD-oriented build. This is why I'm going to recommend to you guys to go Gordrink, Asterisk Gaze, and then Guardian's Angel, which hopefully, if Riot do actually buff Kled, which they probably should, will become a really good 3 core item setup. So those are the 4 losers of this patch, but what about the 11 winners? Well, starting us off, no surprise here, this is Caston. And why is Caston better? Even though Crown of the Shattered Queen got nerfed, that's because Archangel's Staff, the tier item, is 2,600 gold. That's the same amount as Winter's Approach, which lots of Caston mains were going before 11.24, but because Archangel's or Seras is the same amount of gold now, and it's giving you AP, which you kind of need to assassinate enemy squishy champions, this has seen Cass's win rate climb over 1%. Now, following Cassadin, we're going to head to the top lane here for the next 5 champions on this countdown. So the first of these is Fiora. And why is Fiora improved? Well, this is because of the Conqueror buff. So the stacking is now lasting 5 seconds. That's 1 extra second. So it's still a net nerf from a few patches ago. But this is really nice for Fiora because when you land your lunge, your Q, once you get to level 5 and have 3 points in your Q, the 50% cooldown reduction will reduce your Q to below 5 seconds. This means that you can actually keep Conqueror stacking just just by using your Q alone. And when you pair this with the standard Gore Drinker, Ravenous Hydra, and Death Stance setup, Death Stance I'm going to recommend because most of the time you're going to be playing against AD champions in the top lane, and this just improves your 1v1 against them. And just like Fiora, Kael's win rate has also improved by over 1%, and I've mentioned this so many times in our recent videos, but this is because lethal tempo has improved for ranged champions, so it's giving you 2% extra attack speed per stack. And even though you're losing range at max stacks, is it worth it? Of course it is, because you're accessing the range a lot sooner, and this just means that for a Nash's 2 Riftmaker Deathcap Kael, you are close to unstoppable when you hit the mid to late game, which is why Kael's win rate overall is around 53%. Bonkers. And following Kael, we have a very similar champion to Fiora, in the sense that Darius, the reason his win rate has improved by over 1% is because Conqueror is now lasting 5 seconds, and think about Darius's passive, the bleed, lasts 5 seconds. But not only that, think about Darius's W. This lasts 5 seconds too, so a bit like Fiora's Q. If you have an ability that's on a 5-second cooldown, because Conqueror's stacking now lasts 5 seconds, you can actually keep this stacking each time your W is up. This makes Darius a lot scarier to play against, so it's for sure understandable why his win rate, just like Fiora's, has improved because of Conqueror's buffing. But also Singed. The Mad Chemist has also benefited from Conqueror getting buffed because this works with your Poison Trail. If you can just run around like a lunatic with your Poison Trail going and ticking on enemy champions, it will keep Conqueror stacking. Because this lasted 4 seconds before this patch, Conqueror really wasn't a good keystone because the stacking would run out when you're using your Poison Trail. But now that the stacking can continue, this has made it a lot more viable, and with a Demonic Embrace, Kim Tank, and Ryla's Crystal Scepter, you're a super frustrating champion to go against, and honestly, pretty scary. But one of the scariest top laners this patch is Quinn, who is loving the fact that Conqueror got buffed. Because think about for Quinn, nothing has really affected her this patch in terms of direct buffing, so her win rate improving by around 1.5% has to be down to the fact that more melee champions are getting picked because Conqueror has been buffed. So even the champions I just mentioned, Fiora, Darius, Singed, how do you actually get onto a Quinn and beat her in lane when she has her Vault? It's pretty much impossible. Even though Quinn got nerfed towards the end of Season 11, she has still held on to a plus 52% win rate. This is the same at the moment, so there is no reason to stop playing Quinn and crushing your lane opponent. Now this next champion might not crush their lane as hard as a Quinn, but for Orianna in the mid lane, super nice patch because Archangel Staff is reduced in gold by 400. And I know that some Oriannas, especially in lower elos, don't build Archangels, but it's such a useful item because it sorts out all your mana issues. It's also giving you a lot of ability haste now because of the change, and also a decent amount of AP. And also because there is so much damage in the game, it's not like you need raw AP to have an impact. Just hitting one good ultimate or giving your team a bit of utility with the shield and the distance, the movement speed, this is often enough to win games, and this is why Ori's win rate has improved by around 1.5%. Just like Nico, coming in as the 4th biggest winner, and because people are now latching on to how good Nico is, especially in the mid lane with a ledge Q and running an attack speed minor rune, this gives you insane pushing power and also roaming potential because you're pushing lane and then impacting these jungle skirmishes and ganking lanes and team fighting with your amazing kit. And when you have Everfrost and Zhonya's and Horizon Focus, you have all the setup you need, the survivability, and also the damage with Horizon Focus, which is going to activate off your E and your ultimate. And we're going to stay in the mid lane because Rumble is our next champion, and his win rate has improved by at least 1.5% in the last week or so because lots of mages are getting picked. And against these champions, because Rumble has such amazing pushing power, all you have to do is just shove your lane and then roam around the map. And these mages you're going against will have to use their mana on controlling the minion wave rather than actually damaging you yourself. And then when you pair a ledge Q with Ultimate Hunter, so your ultimate's cooldown is going to decrease once you start getting kills and assists, you can really snowball out of control. This is also why we're going to go Rocket Belt with Zhonya's and then Voice Staff, because it gives you so much magic penetration, which is such an important stat for Rumble. And the dash is also useful as well because you are quite an immobile champion. But we haven't talked about any AD carries on this countdown, and unfortunately lots of AD carries, their win rates haven't improved all that much. But for Kog'Maw, his win rate has improved over 2%. And just like I mentioned for Kael, this is because lethal tempo has been buffed for ranged champions. So for a champion like Kog'Maw, who is very auto attack based and auto attack heavy, the fact that you're getting more attack speed per stack, pair this with the range from your W and then the range the tempo will give you, which remember you will get earlier because the more attack speed you're getting, it makes the little worm really hard to play against. Even in lane, Kog'Maw is much more oppressive now just because of tempo and how it's operating, and his win rate at the moment is even rivaling Vayne's. That's how good this champion is. But the champion who is thanking the balance team the most from 1124, this is a mid laner, and this is Anivia. And just like Castin and Orianna, this is all because of the Archangel Staff buff. And even though Crown of the Shattered Queen has got nerfed, and this is going to be the mythic item I recommend because on Anivia, you are very immobile, so if you get jumped on by an assassin, you're probably going to die. But not with this item. The 75% reduced damage is still there, and with the 400 gold cheaper Archangels, it's accelerating that mid to late game, which is when you can really shine, because you'll at least be level 6, well, hopefully anyway, and that's when the game becomes really easy to play. So those are the 15 winners and losers, guys, from patch 1124 and the changes that hit the Rift. Now, to make sure sure you don't miss any of our future daily uploads regarding the preseason and heading into Season 12, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below, and also make sure to check out the GameLeap website on your way out, linked in the description and comment section. We upload up to 20 videos a week for our subscribers, so get that exclusive access by signing up. And until tomorrow's daily upload, this has been the Jizz.